Tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
The phone's been ringing off the hook with reservations booking in for this weekend.
Hello. BC's COVID-19 vaccine card scrapped. As some celebrate the move, others look to hold on to their QR codes a little bit longer. Also,
this is a step back in the right direction to bringing the economy forward.
Tourism dollars pulling into port. BC welcomes its first cruise ship in more than 2 years. And low-cost childcare expands in our province. 4,000 new spots with the pledge for far more from the province.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Good evening, I'm Zahra Premji. Thanks for joining us. Anita is away this week. After nearly 8 months, BC has ended its vaccine card program, meaning you no longer need to show proof of vaccination to, among other things, attend a concert, eat at a restaurant, or take in a movie. Many business owners welcome the change, but as Beneat Brach reports, others are still clinging to the card, at least for now.
Welcome to the rendezvous.
Greeting guests is looking different for this family restaurant. So long to scanning QR codes.
We're excited to no longer have to check for passports, to be honest with you. We hear daily from guests who are frustrated.
While safety has been top priority, since the vaccine card, the restaurant says it's lost nearly 50% of its business and had to lay off staff.
There were months where we literally were hanging on by a thread, wondering if we'd be able to keep the doors open by the end of the month.
But now there's a spark of new hope and optimism as the restaurant's back to full capacity.
Excited that the phone is ringing off the hook, excited that people are coming back.
And restaurants aren't the only ones in new high spirits. Arenas are also ready to welcome back more sports fans to concert goers.
It's coming at a really good time for us. Our team just qualified for the playoffs. We have 2 games this weekend. We have 3 concerts coming to our building next week.
The center is already seeing higher demand for tickets, and no vaccine card also means a shift in operations.
In some ways it's a help because it requires less people to operate, not having to do a vaccine check.
The proof of vaccine will still be required at federally regulated places like airplanes. Now, the relaxation of the vaccine card comes as health officials cite fewer hospitalizations, higher levels of vaccinations, and immunity. But not all businesses are ready to scrap the card just yet.
This brewery is keeping the vaccine card mandate at least until May 1st. They are wary of another COVID spike.
I don't want to be that place where you can come unvaccinated and then 2 weeks from now there's a significant increase in hospitalizations in our hospital.
He says it's important to be proactive for staff and dine-in patrons.
Gives them some reassurance. For the staff, they're more comfortable knowing that all the customers that are coming in are vaccinated.
Reassurance, a comfort to those immunocompromised like Johanna Unger. For now, she's going to pull back on activities she felt safer doing with the vaccine card.
I'll do more stuff again, like outside, like I did last summer, maybe less going into restaurants, and I'll keep my masks on if I have to go into a store. I understand the reasoning for it.
And back at the restaurant, the hope is more can come in for a rendezvous. And so far, the phone has been ringing off the hook for a fresh meal to weddings, birthdays, and beyond. Beneat Brach, CBC News, Abbotsford.
Meanwhile, the first cruise ship is set to dock in Victoria more than 2 years after Canada imposed pandemic restrictions on the industry. As Mira Baines reports, the arrival comes just days after another ship stayed away. It was being monitored by the U.S. CDC after COVID cases appeared on board.
When they come in, they want a little sweet, a little treat.
With fewer tourists and cruise passengers, souvenir and gift shops have been some of the hardest hit businesses in downtown Victoria.
Business will go up 100% when they're here. We are very optimistic with the arrival of the cruise ships again, so we start rehiring people and our staff is going up again.
The first ship to arrive off of BC's coast is the Koningsdam, part of the Holland America line. The ship hosts a 7-day cruise from San Diego to Vancouver. On Saturday, the cruise ship arrives at a Victoria port.
We're a tourist town. This neighborhood where we are is based on tourism. A number of these businesses have been always reliant on tourism, and they haven't had that business. So some of them are down significant amounts of money. 80-90% of revenue is taken away. So this is a step back in the right direction to bring.
The arrival of a Princess cruise ship on Wednesday was cancelled, and the reason unclear. Some officials have cited maintenance. Even so, the ship was being monitored for COVID cases by the U.S. Centre for Disease Control, and the journey was cut short. That's raised concerns over the spread of the virus as parts of the world deal with the sixth wave of COVID. Precautions at some businesses are still in place.
While we want to protect our staff and have them wear masks, customers off the ferries from Port Angeles or wherever, Seattle, it's sort of an optional situation. But
tourism groups say the industry used to generate just under $3 billion in economic activity a year. In 2019, more than 700,000 cruise ship passengers on 257 cruise ships visited Victoria. Cruise line industry advocates say so far this next voyage is clear.
I note that the Koningsdam, which is the ship sailing towards Victoria right now, is now marked as green, meaning no evidence of COVID on board the ship.
The federal government says rules are in place for cruise ship passengers. They'll have to be tested before boarding ships at their departure points and be fully vaccinated.
Although concerns remain, a special ceremony is to take place on Saturday to welcome the ship. Mira Baines, CBC News, Victoria.
The police watchdog is investigating the death of a man after he was shot and killed in an altercation with Surrey RCMP. Police say they were called to a home this morning near 132nd Street and 108 Avenue, where a man was in distress and threatening to harm himself with a weapon. The Independent Investigations Office says there was a confrontation and the man was shot. He was taken to hospital where he died. Port Alberni's Lower Barrier Phoenix house has been boarded up after catching fire. Crews arrived early Thursday morning to find the complex ablaze. 3 people were taken to hospital with smoke inhalation. 1 remains there tonight. 3 of the complex's 12 units were destroyed, while others suffered smoke damage. The building's power was also cut as a precaution. The society behind the Phoenix house says the fire has only strained their services further.
The people in this situation are already vulnerable and struggling with so much, and to have this added to it, I mean, it compounds the difficulties.
The power for some units is expected to be turned back on later today, and some will be allowed to return to their suites. Port Alberni Shelter Society says, remarkably, everyone will continue having a roof over their heads. A unique paid prescription drug program has launched in Vancouver, making clinical-grade powdered fentanyl available to users. The first of its kind safe supply program will see the drug treated like other medication. Patients are prescribed the opioid and pay a pharmacist to dispense their treatment. It's administered by the Portland Hotel Society, which runs nonprofit housing and support services. Their medical director says the goal is to meet substance users where they're at.
The common feedback we had from patients was that they would prefer fentanyl, that we needed to match what they were buying from the drug dealer in order to get them away from that street supply.
She says a safe, consistent dosage specific to each patient eliminates the criminal element, along with the serious risks that not only disrupt lives, but threaten to end them.
To think about the agony of opiate use disorder, of always being in withdrawal and always having uncertainty, to know that you have a safe supply of a consistent dose that does not have contaminants, that you're not going to wake up at St. Paul's Hospital post-overdose, having had your belongings stolen from you or been assaulted along the way.
She says the aim is to bring stability to people's lives amid a climate that has seen an average of 6 people dying in BC each day from toxic drugs. And more welcome news for many families. The BC government says it has met and passed its last year's goal of adding another 4,000 $10 a day childcare spaces.
I just really want to give a big shout out to all the early childhood educators in BC for their incredible work to make sure that childcare is a core service that parents can count on.
The Minister of Childcare there, speaking from experience as a single parent, adding that the NDP government aims to open more than 12,000 spaces by December, and for all families to cut costs by half. A childcare provider and advocate welcomed the news and pointed goals still in the works.
Now, fees are one thing. Fees, though, are just one part of a childcare system. And so what we want to do is continue the focus on educators, spaces, and ensuring quality, affordable childcare.
The province says since 2018, it has invested $2.7 billion. In other news, the importance of housing security is something many understand, and it isn't limited to just humans. Near Delta, conservationists are raising money to build a new nest for a feathered family. It's known as Delta 2. The nest has hosted a bald eagle couple for over a decade. It's seen the birth of over 17 eaglets, but it has seen better days. Heavy winds and harsh weather have weakened the tree home, and it could collapse at any moment. NOAM, the Hancock Foundation, is hoping to raise $25,000 to build a new permanent artificial nest.
We need to build another nest, and the only way, since there's no trees adequate to hold it, is to put, in this case, a pole with a nest on top. We've had 100% success in the last few years of moving eagles from one site to another when there's been developments. In this case, there's not a development, there's just plainly a nest that's fallen over again.
Plans include building a replacement in August while the resident eagles are on their summer migration. All right, bringing in our favorite meteorologist, Johanna Wagstaffe. What's happening with the weather, Joe? Tell me some rain, no sun, right?
Yeah, you're the only one. And you know what? This time around, I'm not going to please you. I'm going to please the sun worshipers. Look what has just moved in behind the system that brought a few pop-up showers and downpours, lightning to the valley and south of the border. But right now, it's all about the sun. And I've got to say, it feels so good. Let me show you the temperatures out there. Still a little on the cool side, 10 right now at YVR, 10 out towards Abbotsford. Quite the departure from yesterday. Abbotsford hit 20.6, so dropping 10 degrees as we get into what really is a cold front. I put the lightning strike on in max size there. You can see just above Abbotsford, most of them staying south of the border. So our risk of a thunderstorm is diminishing, but there is still a risk of showers overnight. And you can see why as you look at the radar over the Strait, Sunshine Coast. We are watching showers slide down the strait. So I have to keep them in the forecast for Metro Vancouver overnight and into Saturday morning. But as you look out towards the Pacific, that's what's coming for our weekend. Clearing skies on Saturday, and that should stick around for Sunday as well. But those northwesterly winds will make it feel chilly. And I know chilly has been the name of the game so far, our spring. Watch as I take you through to Saturday morning. Still some lingering showers out, though. This is all translating to maybe 5 to 10 centimeters for our local mountains and the mountain passes. But as we head into Saturday afternoon, looking to get into some good clearing and some cooler temperatures as well. And Zahra, I know you like that side of the equation, so I'll tell you just how cold coming up in a little bit.
All right. Thanks, Joe.
You're welcome.
Well, for the third time this week, climate demonstrators took to a major highway to protest old-growth logging, and they say they will be back. This was the scene on Highway 1 that's near Taylor Way in West Vancouver just earlier this morning. All directions were blocked as activists sat in the middle of Trans-Canada Highway. The protest group Save Old Growth says it's planning to disrupt more major routes, saying non-disruptive tactics have failed to get the government's attention. Since January, 72 people have been arrested. Film and TV productions across the province could soon be impacted. In a high turnout of eligible voters, the BC chapter of the Directors Guild of Canada has voted to strike for the first time. The Guild has been in negotiations for the last year. Unresolved issues include minimum wage increases and payment terms for COVID testing, concerns primarily impacting the lowest paid positions. The union represents all levels of workers in the industry, from production assistants to the directors calling the shots. 1 week after promising to come to Canada to apologize for the church's role in residential schools, questions remain about where Pope Francis will issue his apology. After the break, we'll ask one of the Indigenous delegates to Rome what she would like to see. Welcome to our commercial-free live stream. Well, the Hotel Association of Greater Montreal is making up for staffing shortfalls by reaching out to refugees. The goal is to hire at least 2,000 people to help meet the demand of increased summer reservations. As Kobina Aduro reports, language barriers are not considered an issue.
When Joelle Santana came to Montreal from Mexico, she made it a priority to learn French and got a job at a hotel. Back in Mexico, she was working in a 5-star hotel as a supervisor, a dream she hopes to fulfill in Montreal.
It's not very easy for us, for immigrants. It's not very easy to have a very good job. So you start really with a basic job.
During the pandemic, the hotel industry lost a lot of revenue. In 2019, the occupancy rate was 85%. But during the pandemic, booking rates were as low as 8%. Now with restrictions being lifted, that means the Grand Prix, the Jazz Festival, and Just for Laughs will be in full effect. And Montreal is expected to be buzzing with travelers.
We need to be ready for the people to come back. We've got people selling Montreal, so people are craving coming back to Montreal, but it's going to take at least 2 to 3 years before we go back to the pre-pandemic level.
30 hotels were present at this job fair with over 2,000 jobs available. Across the island of Montreal, though, there are 5,000 jobs needing to be filled.
In hotels, you can work, find great jobs with good salaries, good perks, good advantages, even if you don't speak, perfect French or perfect English. So that was a perfect marriage for the hotel and the new immigrant.
Cassie, the community group which helps immigrants find jobs, held the event in hopes of having their members find work.
There's a lot of them that are entering rooms and being interviewed and getting jobs right away almost. So it's a great feeling. They're super happy.
Hotels in Montreal expect the number of reservations to continue increasing, and they'll be setting up more recruitment campaigns so staffing can keep up with the demands. In September, they will be going to high schools to get students thinking about pursuing a career in the hotel industry. Hubino Duro, CBC News, Montreal.
Pope Francis has said he's coming to Canada to issue an apology for the Catholic Church's role in residential schools. Where that will happen is being debated, and there are several sites being considered, including the former residential school in Kamloops. But as Jason Warwick reports, survivors agree they should have the final say.
AJ Felix and Wendell Starblanket walked the grounds of the Lebret Indian Industrial Residential School in southern Saskatchewan. For more than a century, thousands of Indigenous children were forced to attend this Catholic-run institution. These two men among them.
Indian affairs, the church.
Indian agent come in?
Yeah.
The priests, ministers
They told my daddy he was going to go to jail if we didn't come.
That's why here is where they want Pope Francis to visit and to say sorry for the church's actions on Canadian soil. Last week, the Pope promised to do just that as early as July.
It would be good to have the apology in the heart of the country. It would be good, and this is it.
But it's just one of many suggested locations for the Pope's apology. Like the Kamloops Indian Residential School, where last year the local First Nations leaders identified more than 200 possible unmarked burial sites of children. The Cowessess First Nation in southern Saskatchewan, where 751 possible unmarked graves have been found near another residential school. And the Wanuskewin Heritage Park, just outside Saskatoon, a gathering place for thousands of years. While Pope Francis himself told delegates he could come during the annual Catholic pilgrimage to Lac St. Anne near Edmonton. But Indigenous people agree on one thing.
For all of this
to resonate with the survivors and allow us to move forward. The survivors themselves have to feel that they're a fundamental part of this historic process.
The Canadian Conference of Catholic Bishops says meaningful consultations are underway with Indigenous people. They say they know that an apology is just words, and they have to take action on compensation and records. As for Felix and Star Blanket, they say they're willing to open their hearts to the church one last time.
Let's say, yes, mistakes were made. Yes, people got hurt. And yes, let's heal. Let's heal together.
They just hope this won't be yet another broken promise. Jason Warwick, CBC News, Saskatoon.
The Indigenous delegates who went to Rome have returned to Canada, and they've hit the ground running to prepare for the Pope's promised visit coming up this summer. One of them now joins us today from Fort Nelson. We're lucky to have Taylor Bendacoza, who is a 26-year-old youth delegate who was there to speak for intergenerational survivors. Taylor, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
You know, you've just returned to Fort Nelson and you've had several days to let the Vatican trip really seep in. First off, I just want to know, how are you feeling coming out of that meeting?
Yeah, I still feel the same from the moment I walked out of that meeting with Pope Francis last week. I still feel very, very hopeful, optimistic, with a little bit of jet lag, but still very, feeling very good about, the work that we did in Rome.
You know, you've heard that apology from Pope Francis. We all heard it. But did that answer what you were hoping for, or what more now? What are you looking for?
Yeah, for a lot of us, those words, "I am very sorry," that Pope Francis had shared was exactly what we were hoping to hear. Although when Pope Francis had expressed, that apology, he did say that it was only on behalf of some of the members of the Catholic Church that were involved in these schools. Personally, I would really like to see him apologize on behalf of, the entire Catholic Church. So when Pope Francis does make his trip to Canada later this year, I really do expect him to express. To extend that apology.
Now, Taylor, you speak about this apology and sort of more of what you're looking for now. We know you were there advocating the concerns of intergenerational survivors. I want to know from your standpoint, why is it important for you to bring these concerns to the Pope?
Yeah, my generation, the ones that they call intergenerational survivors, we actually didn't go to residential school. It was our parents, it was our grandparents, in my case, my aunties and uncles. But we still suffer the effects of those schools. It was that intergenerational trauma that was passed down to myself and to others who are also seeking that healing. Having myself there and my fellow co-chair Rosalie, bringing these stories. It's myself and others as emerging leaders that are going to carry on this work, and it's essential for us to be part of these discussions, and it was really an honor to be.
Now, you just said it right there. You are an emerging leader, so I have this question just for you, really. What do you hope comes out of the Pope's promised visit in the summer?
Yeah, I really hope that the Pope continues to hear what survivors, intergenerational survivors, have to say. I really felt that in that private audience with Pope Francis that he actually heard what was being said, and he was feeling it, somewhere deep inside of him. And I think, it's those moments that are really gonna encourage him to act on the many asks that we brought to the Vatican last week. And I'm just hopeful that, myself as an emerging leader, that I'm going to continue to pressure him, the Catholic Church, the Canadian Conference of Catholic Bishops, to really, put their words where their actions should be. And so I don't think it'll be achieved necessarily when he comes to Canada, but I just hope that he really expresses and reassures us that he's committed to acting on them.
Thank you so much for joining us today, Taylor.
Masi Cho, thank you for having me.
A missile attack on a train station in Ukraine has killed at least 50 people. It's led to new accusations Russia is targeting civilians, and it comes as Ukraine gets more help from neighboring countries. CBC's Katie Simpson has the details and a warning. It includes images viewers may find disturbing.
Kramatorsk has one of eastern Ukraine's busiest train stations. Thousands have used this location to start their journey to safety, including these evacuees who made it out just yesterday. Some 4,000 people were at the station at the time of the attack. Unverified footage posted on Twitter appears to show survivors running for cover. The injured scream for help. Bodies of the dead and their suitcases now strewn across the platform. There were many killed and injured here, says this man. The cars were still on fire when he arrived. It was hell on earth, he says. Among the dozens of dead, several children. Bloodied belongings of little ones are left behind, along with a message from Russia spray painted on the side of the missile. For the children, it says. During an address to Finnish lawmakers, Ukraine's president called this yet another direct attack on civilians. Russian forces hit an ordinary train station, ordinary people. There were no military personnel there, he says. A Kremlin spokesperson denied Russia is responsible for the attack, a claim widely denounced as a lie. Ukraine is about to get some added protection. Slovakia is supplying it with a new air defense system, while the U.S. is promising to backfill Slovakia. The more help, the better, from the perspective of these young Ukrainian men. They've been making Molotov cocktails to help with the war effort and are expecting to be called to the front lines any day now, insisting they're not scared. We feel confident in the future and the future of our country, he says. Russia is increasing its attacks on the south and east as it tries to regroup after losing thousands of soldiers in its failed attempt to capture the capital. That is why people in the south and east are being urged to get out while they can, if they can. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Lviv.
They're billed as harbingers of a financial revolution, but can technologies like the blockchain and cryptocurrency be used for more than simply making money? We'll have an in-depth look at what some are calling the new backbone of digital finance after the break.
Back here, right there was a fence. Over there was a fence.
It's like a time warp, back to the 60s. A group of people living a sort of communal life, taking down fences to share the backyard space, sharing the living space in 4 houses. Only the houses don't belong to them.
It was empty and open when I came in. So, I walked in, looked around, it was perfectly habitable.
Jesse Kovic is a cabbie and was looking for a place to live when he heard about the empty houses on Francis Street.
The rents in these places and all around here are $600 for a 2-bedroom. I can afford $600 for a 2-bedroom or $400 for a 1-bedroom.
Catherine Kidd moved in last month after trying to balance full-time university and a full-time job. She couldn't, and so she opted for cheap housing.
It's really a crime that they should sit unoccupied when they're perfectly livable, and there are so many people, lower income group people, who are lacking a place to stay.
So this is our messy kitchen.
The squatters know they have to be out of the houses by June, when demolition is supposed to begin. But they say the property owner has ordered them out of the houses immediately. On the other hand, he hasn't cut off any utilities. In fact, the squatters have been paying the gas, electrical, and telephone bills.
We tried getting in touch with property owner Ning Yi today, but calls to his office weren't returned, and when we called his home, we were told that he'd gone fishing. So these squatters say they're simply going to try to wait him out, wait those 5 weeks or so until demolition is supposed to begin. Cecilia Walters, CBC News, Vancouver.
A beautiful sunny day in Kerrisdale, but the clouds of change continue to loom over the neighborhood.
the clouds of demolition, development, and displacement. These people represent a dozen communities, citizens, and housing groups, and they've gathered outside 3 vacant apartment blocks on West 40th Avenue. Soon, the blocks will be torn down to be replaced with expensive high-rise condominiums.
We could have immediate protection if the provincial government would bring in legislation now to stop demolitions. We want a piece of legislation that empowers City Council to say no demolitions unless affordable housing is built.
A few miles away in Vancouver's West End, demolition and development rolls on. About 40 tenants of the old Coniston Lodge at Barclay and Butte have until May 31st to move out.
I don't particularly like it at all. I have no choice in the matter. So I was forced to look on my own for a place. I've managed to find one, and I'll be moving, I hope, on April 30th.
But various social agencies, along with the Coniston's owner, are helping tenants to relocate, and the owner is paying for moving costs. Tonight at City Hall, a special meeting on the local crisis in affordable housing. Terry Dolan's.
Here are some of the stories we're following tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
Hello, welcome to the Rendezvous.
After nearly 8 months scrapping the QR code, immunized or not, BC's Vax Pass is a thing of the past. The end of the mandate drawing mixed reaction as some businesses feel relief and others are just not ready to say goodbye to the safety measure.
There's a huge pent-up demand, obviously, for the cruisers to come back.
Coming back and bringing those tourism dollars in tow as the first cruise ship in more than 2 years pulls into a Canadian port this weekend. Another ship's arrival was canceled Wednesday. It was being monitored by the U.S. Center for Disease Control as questions circulated over COVID-19 cases on board.
I think that we're here because of the war on drugs.
And a first-of-its-kind safe supply program hits Vancouver. Powdered fentanyl is being made available by paid prescription. Patients will be prescribed the opioid and will pay a pharmacist to dispense their treatment, with a goal to meet substance users where they're at, instead of administering the alternatives. Now, if the words NFT or blockchain just make your head spin, we have a story for you. The world of crypto is often thought of as a playground for the super rich. But as CBC's Michelle Gassoub reports, here in BC, artists and researchers are looking at how to leverage that groundbreaking technology for good.
From Bitcoin to NFTs, it sometimes feels like blockchain technology has taken over. The space is filled with people hoping to get rich by buying wildly expensive assets. But now, traditional artists are also getting in on the technology.
The NFT, even though it's a digital asset that you're holding, will take on a monetary value and grow in value, as does all of our Indigenous art.
And researchers are looking at how to leverage it in fields like healthcare.
It really is about creating a platform that empowers people to take control of their health, to take control of their health information.
Beyond making the already rich even richer, can blockchain technology actually make the world more fair?
Come on in. So I use a variety of different hides. My preferred one is elk. All the stringing on the back of the drum is elk hide, hand cut.
We're in Burnaby, BC, where Indigenous artist David Fierro creates drums. But these drums won't be sold in their physical form. They'll be made into minted NFTs.
We decided that instead of having the drum just under regular light, we would use black light as well and start using colors that were phosphorescent or glow in the dark or things like that. So if you put a black light on it, you get a completely different piece of art.
400 Drums is an Indigenous-led project selling NFTs or non-fungible tokens. An NFT is a unique digital code that can't be modified or owned by anyone else. Something that can't be copied is especially appealing to Indigenous artists because their art is often replicated and sold without their permission. And so what does it mean for someone to be able to own this? Like, what significance does that have?
So these are investments that people make in the crypto market. What's important about that is that we recognize that for our future, that our art is our value. Our art is our legal culture. So we feel that as Indigenous peoples, we need to enter this space to preserve the authentic nature of art as a value, art as money. It's a multi-billion-dollar industry. We're moving the physical asset into the digital market. So.
The most popular NFTs sell for thousands, even millions of dollars. These ones will be sold for around 0.1 Ethereum, a cryptocurrency that's worth several $100s depending on the crypto market, and that money will go to initiatives supporting Indigenous youth.
The funds that'll come off the NFTs are going into those programs to support, especially the youth. Like I love working with the youth and teaching them how to do these things. And when they're finished learning how to build these correctly, they've got that tool that they can do their prayers, they can learn their language, they can learn all the stories in their traditional language, and they've got a skill. Even in a digital world that's based in the physical reality, what's more important is the feel that you get out of it. I can't give every person a drum. This is the way that I can share it. I want to give as much of that experience to you as I can. It's like being in church, right? For people that are there, if they're singing prayers or hymns or things like that, they're putting themselves into that state. And we're trying to do that with an ancient technology, which is now finally Western technologies coming up and marrying with it and able to bring it forward, bring everybody forward.
But there's a major drawback to cryptocurrency. It has a significant environmental impact. Cryptocurrencies like Ethereum or Bitcoin use a lot of energy to produce new currency. The blockchains that power those two networks work like a record of transactions. Technically, anyone in the world can verify a crypto transaction and earn new currency by doing it. The problem is that collectively, all those computers use up so much electricity, it's actually similar to what a small country uses. I know one of the concerns with crypto is the environmental impact of Ethereum. Was that something that you took into consideration?
We can't come to the table as Indigenous people to look at how to solve that problem unless we have something that is allowing us to come to the table. We'd like to be part of the solution, but first we need to tell people what is it and how are we going to enter this space together.
But can blockchain technology be used outside of crypto? 400 Drums isn't the only group looking at how blockchain can benefit society. We're here at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, where we're about to check out a lab that is working on blockchain technology. Dr. Victoria Lemieux runs the lab. She's looking at how blockchain technology can be used in healthcare. So this whiteboard has not been erased since 2018. So what are we looking at?
So this is the genesis of the MyPDX, the Personal Health Wallet blockchain project.
The Personal Health Wallet would be a secure enclave on your phone that stores your health information without sharing it with anyone else or even having it traceable back to you.
We're basically just showing our credentials, just like we would show our driver's license. The way that we do that is we scan that barcode, or the QR code I should say. Now the health wallet that is running on this infrastructure remotely in you have a secure communication channel that's encrypted just between the two of you.
Victoria's app would allow you to access your health records instantly and protect your data from hackers. The wallet would be much more secure than current systems because of how difficult it is to change information stored on a blockchain.
The way I like to think of it, it's just another form of record keeping. Another word for blockchain is distributed ledger. The blockchain has something called a consensus mechanism, which is used to make sure that all those copies of the ledger, they match. And if one copy of the ledger doesn't match, you know that somehow that's manipulated. And it's all part of this sort of trend to empower people to control their data, take power away from platforms that have tended to hoover up our data without asking.
There's still lots of questions about this technology, like can cryptocurrency ever go green? And will there be enough buy-in from people to make the uses worth it? And with more people hopping on the blockchain bandwagon every day, people like Victoria and the 400 Drums team are just beginning to tap into the potential of the technology, and they're hoping to use it for good.
Canada's unemployment rate has dropped to below pre-pandemic levels. In March, the jobless rate dipped to 5.3% with the addition of more than 72,000 positions. The increase in the number of jobs came in below expectations, but it was enough to drop unemployment to the lowest rate on record. The job gains were centered in Ontario and Quebec and were driven by older women and middle-aged men returning to the workforce. Both manufacturing and the service sector saw increases. When she tabled the federal budget in the House of Commons, Chrystia Freeland said there's no one silver bullet to solve Canada's housing problem. And now, as Tom Perry reports, Freeland and the Prime Minister are taking their plan straight to Canadians.
Canada needs more affordable housing. When Canadians work hard and save, they should be able to afford a home.
Justin Trudeau back in Hamilton, Ontario, where he unveiled the Liberals' housing policy in the last election. The Prime Minister and his Finance Minister today pledging their new budget will help more Canadians put a roof over their heads.
We just don't have enough homes. We have a growing population, which is great. Canada has the fastest growing population in the G7. But housing supply just has not kept pace.
The budget promises to double new home construction over a decade, to shut many foreign buyers out of the Canadian real estate market for 2 years, and to establish a tax-free savings account for first-time home buyers. But with home prices rising relentlessly, the question is whether that's enough.
Sure, there's a first-time home buyers savings account. There are also other tax credits that are being topped up, and of course, they are trying to deter foreign home buyers. But all these strategies are not as aggressive to make a dent in this type of environment that we're in.
Well, the cost of home ownership has doubled. Food prices are through the roof. Fuel costs are at record highs. And yesterday's budget only made things worse. There was no help for those being left behind by this NDP Liberal government.
In the House of Commons, the opposition was placing little faith in the government's promises.
And housing is an important way that we are going to help Canadians deal with the increased cost of living. Housing is incredibly important for us.
Despite the rhetoric, it's unlikely this budget will trigger an election. This is the first budget tabled since the NDP and Liberals reached a deal to keep the government in power, potentially until 2025. Canadians will have to wait and see what impact, if any, the budget has on the housing market. Tom Perry, CBC News, Ottawa.
A separate budget measure is being criticized by environmentalists. While the oil patch says bring it on, the promise is $2.5 billion to help the industry cut carbon emissions. Carolyn Dunn shows us how it's supposed to work and why some say it's not really addressing the problem.
It's a rare sight to see Alberta oil sands executives cheer a federal budget.
This is Canada recognizing that this is a huge opportunity to achieve significant emissions reductions in a relatively short period of time with proven technologies.
The federal government has promised $2.6 billion in tax credits over 5 years for companies to invest in carbon capture and storage. The technology captures carbon dioxide emissions from active oil and gas projects and lessens their environmental impact by permanently storing them underground. Key technology if companies like Suncor are to achieve net zero emissions in the coming decades.
We need to fight climate change so that we can leave our children with a livable planet.
Investing billions in fossil fuels drew political ire.
This government intends to be the instrument of the oil and gas industry. The difference between this government and the Conservatives is that the Conservatives would admit it.
Suncor's chief climate officer says it's an investment in the environment, not the industry.
This is not something that helps this industry generate revenue. This is a pure cost. I think it's almost easier for people to see this more as public infrastructure.
We need to start replacing our energy systems with clean energy and doing it really quickly.
But some environmental advocates say federal dollars are better spent on a quick transition to greener energy rather than clinging to fossil fuels.
Putting public dollars into carbon capture mechanisms That's carbon lock-in. That guarantees that those polluting facilities will be here for decades to come.
The challenge will be to take billions in tax credits promised in these pages and turn them into actual carbon capture facilities. Carolyn Dunn, CBC News, Calgary.
The slapper heard around the world continues to have consequences for Oscar Award winner Will Smith. After the break, how the Academy is further punishing one of Hollywood's biggest names. And all right, let's take a live look at Vancouver all the way down to Cambie Street. Enjoy.
Dozens of new faces in an unfamiliar place. Starting a new school can be tough. Add to that the trauma of war and the barrier of a new language. That's why teachers at Manitoba's English-Ukrainian bilingual schools want to help Ukrainian children who are coming to the province as refugees.
To feel a little piece of home is really important for them, and we feel like at our school we can do that with our language and our culture.
You can start with making maybe some top lines.
There are 11 schools in the province with an English-Ukrainian bilingual program. Several report they are expecting new students shortly. One Winnipeg school expects its first new student tomorrow, a 7-year-old boy.
We just really want to make sure that he has a very warm welcome. We did a tour with them through the school, and I got to see some of our classrooms, meet some of our teachers, and lots of kids were interested too. So we have lots of Ukrainian-speaking kids at our school that were able to talk to this little boy in Ukrainian and welcome him, and they're excited to meet him.
The feeling of anticipation and excitement was echoed by other schools from Winnipeg to East Selkirk and Dauphin.
We have actually been introduced to one student that has come from Ukraine in this situation. And the students here are very, very welcoming and excited to have them.
Right now, we are aware of about 5 kids between the 2 schools that may be coming soon. So we're quite excited about that.
We are very excited. All of our teachers in the Ukrainian, English-Ukrainian bilingual program, as well as our English program, are very excited to welcome new students who are coming from Ukraine.
Goosen says the children will benefit in several ways. They will have a teacher who speaks their language while they're learning English. Students will also have the comfort of being surrounded by Ukrainian culture. The schools say there is counseling and trauma support available to help the children. Andrew Wiles, CBC News, Winnipeg.
What was it, dear?
Look who it is, meteorologist Johanna Wagstaffe joining us now for the forecast. Joe, more sun, I'm guessing, right?
Yes, the showers and the cooler temperatures are coming for those looking forward to it. But lots of sun this weekend. But I got to tell you, it does put an extra spring in everyone's step. Speaking of spring, let me start you off with the current temperatures across the country. It's been a struggle from coast to coast this spring. Seeing some warmer temperatures right now in Calgary and Regina, although Saskatchewan bracing for a winter storm next week. Toronto looking for flurries tomorrow morning as well, and it's a mixed bag on the east coast, just a -2 as we head into the late evening hours for St. John's. Taking you through our overnight forecast tonight will be fairly mild, taking you down to 2, 3s, and 4s across Metro Vancouver. But it's Saturday night and Sunday night, as I mentioned earlier, that will actually get close to the freezing mark. And with those clear skies, you may be scraping some frost off the windshields, and watch for slippery surfaces over our weekend mornings. So a little low is skirting us for Saturday and Sunday. Generally, it's this cold front that has brought in a colder air mass from the north. Just pausing you Saturday afternoon, look at all the purple that's showing up in my forecast model. That's snow, mainly flurries for valley bottoms, but the mountains getting some snow. Prince George looking to see some flurries as we head into Sunday morning, but clearing skies as well. Now, Saturday is a bit of a mixed bag depending on how close that low pressure system gets to the coast. We may end up seeing a few more showers and clouds, but I do think sunny breaks still in the card for the afternoon, and definitely for Sunday. Looking nice on the island as well. Port Hardy, lingering showers for your Saturday. Wind warning actually in effect for the greater Victoria area tonight. You're looking to see 90-kilometer-per-hour gusts after the midnight hour before winds dissipate. Not out of the question we could see some power outages. So if you're watching from the south coast on the island, good idea to plug your phone in before you head to bed. 8 out towards Kelowna tomorrow, and an 8 in through Cranbrook. Lots of sun in through Prince George and Williams Lake. Temperatures, as I take you through the long range, definitely staying a touch below seasonal with this cooler air mass. Once we get into Monday and Tuesday, we'll see a bit of a temperature recovery starting on the coast. We get back to those double digits, and then that warm air will filter inland. But it's still a cool week ahead, really not hitting our seasonal mark. Monday will be a little warmer, but overall, things are looking decidedly below seasonal for the week ahead. So let me break it down for you. Showers for your Saturday, again, hoping for some sunny breaks in the afternoon. Notice those overnight lows. That might be being a bit generous, keeping you up around a 2 for Saturday night and a 1 for Sunday night. Temperatures recover a little bit for Monday. Lots of sunshine to kick off next week. Another system will bring the showers back Tuesday and Wednesday. There's something else I have to tell you about Wednesday. The latest model runs are bringing a few flurries in for Wednesday morning. That is late in the season. We haven't seen snow in April in quite some time for Vancouver. I'm not saying it's happening. I'm just saying be prepared. And Zahra, don't get your hopes up. I know that would make you happy.
Okay, I guess I'll take the sun, Joe. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Well, Best Actor winner Will Smith has been banned from the Oscars following his now infamous slap. Earlier this month, Smith went on stage and slapped Chris Rock during the Academy Awards after the comedian made a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith's alopecia. In a statement, the organization called Smith's behavior unacceptable. The Academy didn't say whether Smith could still be nominated for an award during his 10-year ban. For 5 years, CBC Marketplace has investigated phone scams targeting Canadians. The team even tracked down some of the call centers in India and revealed how money was stolen from victims and funneled overseas. In the wake of their findings, the RCMP launched Project Octavia to crack down on those fraudsters. David Common reports that the task force has been disbanded, even though the scam calls just haven't stopped.
Overseas scam centers like this often rely on money mules in Canada to funnel proceeds of crime from victims to kingpins.
You're under arrest for fraud.
Over 3 years, the RCMP arrested nearly a dozen alleged money mules in Canada. But since then, the allegations remain unproven for most because not one has made it to trial.
It's crazy. It's really crazy.
Scammers took control of Monique LaFrance's computer, withdrawing from her line of credit.
So almost $200,000.
Yeah, almost $200,000. Yeah, I know. It's a crazy thing.
Some of it sent in cash to multiple addresses, including courier drop locations and this workplace.
Abhinav Bector worked there. He worked at that location you're at.
An employee signed for the package and was later charged with fraud and money laundering. We caught up with that man, Abhinav Bector.
You were involved in a scam. I'm just wondering if you would say anything to the victims.
Nothing.
Bechter ultimately took a no-jail deal, pleading guilty only to possession of the proceeds of crime and paying restitution. The Mounties say the investigation continues, but a senior RCMP source emails to tell us that's not true.
What can you tell us about the RCMP's role in tackling financial crime? It plays no role in tackling phone scams.
You are sending a message that Canada doesn't care about this kind of crime.
Now, the unit which made all of those arrests has been quietly disbanded, even as the calls continue and victims lose their savings. David Common, CBC News, Toronto.
Tune in tonight for Marketplace's 1-hour season finale and more on this story. Also find out how good guy hackers are fighting back against phone scammers and helping prevent vulnerable Canadians from falling prey. That's coming up at 8 p.m. on CBC TV and on CBC Gem. A new immersive art installation is offering Surrey residents a way to celebrate their true home. We'll hear from the artist. That's coming up next.
First 3 seconds, I was a little nervous, but then I saw the red carpet. I was like, okay, it's my turn to shine.
Woo, 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 woo. Okay. It was a really, really breathtaking experience.
I think it's really great for PEI to have something like this.
It's huge.
Being like the energy with people, the music, everybody worked together, and it was just an incredible experience.
And I'm very excited to be here right now.
Empowered. Women powered. A lot of art, community, diversity, and of course fashion happening. We are having our first PEI Fashion Weekend, which is sold out and has been sold out for 2 weeks. We are featuring 10 different designers and retailers.
All the hard work, all the sleepless nights, with the designs, researching about how to go about everything, it's actually paying off, and it's like you can see your effort growing into something.
I think it's a really cool experience, because it's pretty much like one of the things that I wanted to do, since I was a teenager. I am from Mexico. Want to show where I'm from and stuff like that, so really happy. I think there's so much talent happening here, and we just wanted to give a platform and a venue for people to be able to show their art and expose all the amazing designers, stylists, artists that are putting art to clothing in this fashion show.
The energy you felt in the room, you just fed off it. You saw the spotlights, and we had to pose and we had to twirl and do our things. There, I just felt like I could be myself, express myself, and I felt so confident. Everyone was just looking at you, smiling, recording, and it was just an amazing moment. And
they should have another one. If I could, I would do this all week. And the moment I just stepped on stage, it was like a completely different world. I don't know, that feeling just went. Just felt so confident, just felt so happy, just walking that stage, bro. Just walk on it.
I just saw so many people, so many interesting faces, so many nice clothes. I've always wanted to do something like that, and having the opportunity tonight was just, I'm so blessed.
I think it's really important in pushing the needle forward with style, with fashion, art design, and I think it was really, really well received by the crowd.
I felt so confident. I felt like PEI came together, and we're showing what we got on this small island, and it's a lot to offer.
Hi, I'm Amy Bell, and here's what's in your CBC Vancouver inbox.
The Surrey Board of Trade's Top 25 Under 25 Awards returns on April 20th. Celebrate Surrey's role models and get your tickets today at businessinsurrey.com. And have you had your say in the search for BC's best small town? Join us and channel your provincial pride and cast your vote weekdays at cbc.ca/bestsmalltownbc.
April is Sikh Heritage Month, and an immersive exhibit at the Hubcast Studios in Surrey explores what it means to be Sikh in Canada.
As settlers, what is our connection with Indigenous land, and also reflecting back to the farmers' protest that was happening. And as settlers, we sort of bring in that duality as well too. So it's just exploring that and finding out what is our true home.
The exhibit is called Sacha Ghar, which means true home. It's in Punjabi. It's an immersive installation inspired by the words of Sikh gurus relating to oneness. Viewers walk through 5 rooms curated by 5 different artists, each one presenting a piece of their home.
And that is where we ask them the final question, what is home to them now? The purpose of that is to kind of spark some sort of conversation inside their mind or just among the groups on like if they learned anything, if they saw anything different.
The exhibit runs until Sunday. Reservations can be made on the Sikh Heritage website. And hey, that's all for your 6 o'clock hour. Thanks so much for joining us. And now, a quick reminder, you can always plug into the CBC Gem app to also watch us. That is, if you aren't already. And Isabel Regan will be back at 11 o'clock with your late news. Thanks for being here with us. And remember, have a great night.